They called the plumber once. The guy showed up late, charged double, and fixed the wrong pipe. That was 15 years ago. They haven't called anyone since. If you know someone like this, or if you are someone like this, what you're about to hear might be the most accurate description of your inner world you've ever encountered. There's a certain kind of person in this world. When something breaks, they don't Google handyman near me. They watch 12 YouTube tutorials, buy the tools, stay up until midnight, and fix it themselves. When a problem appears at work, they don't delegate. They quietly absorb it, handle it alone, and somehow pull it off. When life gets hard, they don't lean on anyone. They go inward, get silent, and come out the other side having survived. Alone. Again. From the outside, these people look like superhumans. Capable, resourceful, independent. But there's something underneath all of that competence that almost nobody talks about. Something that drives the behavior that goes much deeper than just being good at stuff.
And the deeper you go into the psychology of these people, the more you realize this was never really about fixing things. It was always about something else entirely. Let's start with where this begins, because nobody is born this way. Think about a child who grows up in a home where the adults around them are unreliable. Maybe a parent who promised to show up and didn't. Maybe a household where asking for help was met with irritation, dismissal, or worse, being made to feel like a burden. The child learns something in those moments, a lesson so quiet and so early that it bypasses conscious thought and goes straight into the nervous system. If you need something, you better get it yourself. Psychologists call this an insecure attachment pattern, specifically the avoidant type. The child learns to suppress their own needs, not because they don't have them, but because expressing those needs historically led to disappointment or pain. So they adapt.
They become self-contained. They learn to need less, or at least to appear that way. And they get incredibly, almost unnaturally good at doing things on their own. That child grows up. The world changes around them, but the operating system inside them doesn't update. Now here's where it gets fascinating and a little uncomfortable. That same coping mechanism that protected them as a child starts shaping their entire adult identity. Competence becomes their personality. Fixing things becomes more than a skill, it becomes who they are. And here's the thing about an identity built on self-sufficiency. It is terrifyingly fragile, even when it looks rock solid. Ask someone like this to let someone else handle something important and watch what happens. Watch the discomfort rise, the subtle anxiety, the quiet hypervigilance as they monitor whether the other person is doing it right. Because deep down, letting someone else handle it isn't just inconvenient. It feels dangerous. It triggers something primal, a whisper from childhood that says, they will drop the ball. They always do. Do it yourself. This is the psychology of control, but not the kind people usually talk about. This isn't power-hungry control. This is protective control. It's armor, built out of old pain, worn so long it no longer feels like armor at all. It just feels like personality. And this is where we have to talk about something that rarely gets acknowledged, the hidden cost of this trait. Because here's what happens over time. The person who fixes everything themselves starts to attract people who let them. Relationships form where the dynamic quietly settles. One person handles things, the other lets them. And the self-sufficient one doesn't even complain. They prefer it this way. Or at least they think they do. But somewhere underneath the competence, something is building. A quiet, slow-burning resentment. Not at any one person, just a general weight. The exhaustion of always being the one who holds things together. The loneliness of strength that nobody thinks to check on. The painful irony of being so capable that people forget you're human too. They won't ask for help. That's the thing. Even when they're drowning, especially when they're drowning, they project calm. They say, I've got it. And they mean it, because they always figure it out. But figuring it out alone, every single time, has a cost that never shows up on the outside. Now, let's talk about the part that makes this trait so paradoxical, because it's also genuinely remarkable. The psychology of self-reliance, when it comes from a healthy place, is one of the most powerful human qualities that exists. Self-efficacy, the deep belief that you can handle what comes your way, is one of the strongest predictors of resilience, success, and psychological well-being ever studied. Albert Bandura, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, spent decades showing that people with high self-efficacy approach challenges differently. They don't see a broken pipe, they see a puzzle. They don't see a failed project, they see a version that hasn't worked yet. This is why people who fix everything themselves are often exceptional at what they do. They have an unusually high tolerance for difficulty. They've trained themselves, often without realizing it, to sit with frustration without giving up. Every time they fix something alone, every midnight repair, every solo problem solved, they were strengthening a belief. I can figure this out. That belief compounds over a lifetime into something formidable. But there's a difference, and this is crucial, between someone who chooses self-reliance because they genuinely love the process and someone who cannot choose otherwise because the nervous system won't allow it. One is freedom. The other is a gilded cage. The person who fixes everything out of true love for solving problems can put the wrench down. They can say, actually, you handle this one. They can watch someone else do it imperfectly and feel nothing but warmth. For them, independence is a value they return to, not a wall they hide behind. But the person who cannot stop, who feels genuine unease when they're not in control, who gets irritable when someone tries to help them, who lies awake at night mentally fixing things that haven't even broken yet, that person isn't just resourceful. That person is running a very old program on autopilot, and it's costing them something they haven't fully accounted for yet. So, what does it actually take for someone like this to change? Not therapy necessarily, though that can help. Not someone telling them to just let people in. That advice, however well-meaning, lands like a foreign language to a nervous system wired for self-containment. What it actually takes is a specific kind of experience. The experience of needing help, asking for it, and having that bet pay off. Just once. Just enough to create a crack in the old story. Because the story these people are living inside, whether they know it or not, is if I depend on someone, they will let me down, and I will be worse off than if I'd just done it myself. That story felt true once. It may have even been true once, but it became a generalization, a rule applied to every person, every moment of potential vulnerability. And the wild thing is, most people who fix everything themselves don't realize they're lonely. They've been alone in their effort for so long that it feels normal. They've redefined connection as something that happens around their self-sufficiency, not through vulnerability. They have people in their lives. They laugh, they love, they show up for others spectacularly, but they rarely genuinely let anyone show up for them. That's the deepest layer of this psychology. Not the competence, not the control, not even the childhood wiring. It's the quiet belief that needing someone is a weakness, and the quiet grief of a life lived proving you don't. The most capable person in the room is sometimes the loneliest, not because they can't connect, but because they never learned that needing someone isn't the opposite of strength. It is, in fact, one of the bravest things a human being can do.